You didn't know it, but you've been waiting over 2 weeks for this. Let's discuss, build, and paint this new WarCry warband, the Children of the Great Horned Rat! A new faction rises, taking to the dark ruins and disused alleyways of WarCry. The followers of Hashut, the dwarf chaos god, previously introduced us to people following an atypical faith. But now, the children of the horned rat crawl from their gnawholes into the realms of chaos to overtake and overwhelm their foes in the name of their horned god. This kit follows the usual twin sprues design. The box comes with 2 sprues, identical, that can make up 5 followers each. I haven't seen these loose before, so was surprised that it wasn't as much a multi-part kit as a monopose kit with many variations on the equipment. I did still find ways and occasions to assemble things in ways that I wasn't supposed to, fitting for such a skulking band of villains. The construction of the kits meant it was easy to squeeze pieces into places they weren't supposed to be and shape the models the way I wanted them to be. More adventurous assembly could have been done with sprue glue to bond things as well as blue tack to hold it in place while it dries. Remember kids, plastic glue dries in about 10 or 20 minutes but tastes good 8 to 12 hours to cure to a hard finish. I used my usual hack here of attaching ABS rods to the feet to give myself plenty of time to decide on a basing scheme. I only put 5 figures together. I decided to leave the rest for a later date when I was more familiar with their equipment, but nothing was going to stop me from stuffing as many of these polearm halberds with steampunky weapons on them into this squad as I could. These craven skulkers have a lot of personality that I want to bring out with underpainting, but first I need a good zenithal priming. I need a solid coat of black to provide the absolute bare minimum of what the shades are going to be, and then for superstitious sake, I still add a zenithal prime. They say that at some point a singer needs to find their voice. Well, I think at some point mini painters find their comfort blanket. In my case, in the case here, it's this unique and unheard of approach of starting with a black primer, covering it with a brighter color, and even adding some shading along the way. The primer itself is dusted on all over the model. Super, very thin coats. The goal is to get the primer deep into the cracks, recesses, nooks, and crannies. That black paint has to provide the deepest shade of the model from which all other colors build up from. And speaking of building and up, we're going to build up to a zenithal highlight across the face, equipment, and general top of the model, which we want to be more brightly lit. Before continuing, we need to bring some shade, some color to this, some je ne sais quoi. And what could be better to break up this black and white than a brown wash or a reeking flesh shader applied almost all over to give a little oomph to this figure. But one color isn't enough, so for an accent color, we're gonna put on a rich green shade coalescing over the shawl. And finally, to really emphasize the dusty nature of creatures who've been skulking around in the dirt, we'll use a brush dried off with an obscure color of paint called pale sand. This color is so new, nobody in Working in Games Workshop has ever let you see it in their photos of their home paint setups. I should mention, let's talk about the fact that this model is now table ready. These models are table ready. They have the 3 colors required for tournament competition, and the distinctive non-solid colors make them visually easy to distinguish. Visually easy for the over 30 demographic Warhammer is targeted at. Remember, folks, our eyes suck, but we're all too prideful to wear glasses before 45. With all that faff out of the way, it's time to start bringing these to a close with the main event, the colors. I'm gonna paint this skin with dark flesh tone. It's a rich color that I don't get to use a lot because I don't paint a lot of skin. That's it. That's all. You know what else I like? I like heavy gold brown. Let's put it on the hair. Oh no, it's too jarring. Okay, we'll shade the heavy gold brown with a brown wash to try and bring it down. And yeah, now they all blend together, except now the skin looks a bit flat. So back on the skin with squid pink to highlight it. Okay, organics are done. Let's move on to the robe. It's robin time. And the first part of the robes are these little shoulder cowls, the main color. It's gonna be falcon turquoise. Why? Because that's what I like. And next is gonna be the accent color of the robes, of the cloths. And that's gonna be whatever the hell red this is. No, really, I'm just glazing this red over. It looks great. It looks gorgeous. Next, I want to do the masks a little bit different. I thought about Warlord Purple, but ended up going with this scurvy green or scruffy green. It's some sort of green. I think it's model part paint number 27. And last, the straps. And for the straps and all those little bandages, I'm glazing on cold gray. I am not sure about this, but it's time to move on to the equipment. I went over all the metals with a gunmetal color before shading them with basicillum gray, and at the same time applied the Black Templar's paint. I'm happy with the results of the shading, even if I hate true metallic metals. It felt bad to cover up some of the undershading, but the undershading helped, and I'm hoping that the rust effect I do later fixes everything and makes it look party. I felt the curious obligation to make rust on these models, so I used this paint that was designed. I usually use this paint to make flames, even though it's designed for rust. I think here, it worked best when I sort of did a panel lining glaze effect irregularly. That looked like rust. That really broke up the otherwise solid gunmetal look, and I liked it more than I was expecting. These characters dwell in and emerge from the forgotten ruins of Temple. They eliminate their enemies with subterfuge and ruthlessness, but I'm not completely feeling their horned rat vibe. I think that this scheme needs another iteration to build up more cohesion. I like the way they're coming out. I don't need to repaint. I need to reinforce so they're really stunning while crawling over the WarCry battlefield. Let's start to finish them off. I'm using a khaki color to pick out all the ropes and cords, and I felt this was good. Fine. Done. Small metal details got gold, and some others were fixed with gray or red as I'd missed them previously. I used dead flesh on the bones and candles. I hope to distinguish these two materials in the next step with washes. Most dramatically, I highlighted the turquoise cloths with some shiny green, and I'm loving it. Last bits. I hope you've enjoyed this April 1st special, even though it is in no way, shape, or form releasing on April 1st. Anyway, I gotta do the bones. I like doing bones with either Rakarth flesh or dead flesh as the base color, and then just a thick but pushed to the recesses shading of Reichland flesh shade. Hey, bones used to be part of flesh. It makes sense. Yeah, you could use brown, but I want to use Agrax Earthshade elsewhere. First, I want to use the Agrax Earthshade on all those bandagey cloth things. All of them. I want the attention drawn to the red and turquoise cloth. So we are leaving these just like this. Going forward, probably could have done the cold gray as a flat coat as well. That's enough nitpicking on me. So we're going to get on to the part you all care about, candles. Well, you don't really care about the candles. That was just me, again, dragging Agrax Earthshade towards the tips. I don't even think I touched the base of the candle with the shade. I just got it on the tip, dragged it towards the tip, towards the tops of the candles, let it pool on the top of the candles with no flames. What I'm excited here is the flames. So of course I've spent almost 2 minutes talking about everything but. Started the flames with a pure white over the flame. Thin it down, get the pure white smooth, do 1 or 2 coats, make sure it's thicker, thinner, whatever near the tips so you've got nice even coverage. You know how to do this stuff. I know we all advocate not to use pure white for normal surfaces, but these aren't normal surfaces, they're an emissive surface. They're emitting light. Anyway, after the pure white's on, cover the top half or the top 2/3 with the Games Workshop oxide paint. Make sure this is also thin and runny. You can add more later, you can come back and put on a second coat if you can't see it, but you cannot take it back off. When it's covering just those bits, pièce de résistance, the final bit is to just touch the tip with some yellow. Maybe touch it a little bit more if you can't see it at all, but this little bit of yellow atop the turquoise thing leading down to white looks like a flame to me. Could have done the whole thing yellow if I wasn't feeling adventurous, but the transition, I think, is what really sells the magic here. Wahoo! I'm loving this. I wasn't expecting to need the brown shade between the hair and the skin, and I wasn't expecting the flame stuff to work out as nicely, nor was I expecting the black contrast to be so wonderful, but keeping it simple like this has been delightful, and I'm off to paint more minis once this is up. Could do with some more brightness in some of the areas. Not totally sold that I used the rust correctly, but I do like the muted colors. I do like that there's only really 2 shades to see on the models, and I'm gonna lean into that. Tell me what you would lean into. Tell me what you think I should paint next. Tell me why you are or are not leaving a like, a share, or a subscribe. Thanks for watching.